I will do my best here to manage all these screens, and I'll try to check the chat window every so often. But hi, everybody. My name is Dinah Ramirez, and I'm a customer success trainer for Easly. And I'm really excited to be here to talk to you all about how you can make infographics with your students. We're also very happy to be a sponsor of EdChange Global and have provided attendees with some type of a trial access to Easly Pro, which is an upgraded version, of course, to our online design tool. You should receive more details about that through EdChange Global, so stay tuned for that. And I'm just curious who's with us here today, so if you can go ahead and just tell me who you are in the chat box. If you're an educator, if you're a librarian, admin, it would be helpful for me to know what your background is, and hopefully we'll get a few more people joining us here today as they start to leave some of the other sessions. Okay, curriculum director, thank you for introducing yourself. It's good to know. Digital learning consultant, special educator working with elementary schools. Okay, great. And you know, another thing that would be interesting to know is just what your interest is in terms of creating infographics. What kind of sparked your interest? If you just kind of saw it and thought it would be interesting, that's cool too. So feel free to go ahead and share that information. Okay, thank you. Great. Okay, so as we wait for some more introductions to come in, I designed the session to get you and your students started with infographics, everything from brainstorming an idea for an infographic to organizing your information, also providing you with some basic design tips, and I hope to actually walk through the product with you so that you can go ahead and get started with using Easly to design your very first infographic. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Easly, it is a simple online design tool that it allows you to create custom infographics and design images so that you can share your ideas and opinions, information in visual ways, and you can use it for just virtually any subject area or even a combination of subject areas as well. So it's a great way to collaborate with other educators. These are just examples of some templates that are available in our tool for customization, but oftentimes people just like to start from scratch and create their own designs, of course. So this is our design tool, and this is the canvas where you can customize those templates or start from scratch. Easly offers a simple drag and drop feature that allows you to just drag objects and text onto your canvas, and then allows you to edit and customize everything that's on your canvas. Also provides you with a library of icons and graphics and stock photos. These are all hard to get access to. One, if you're not a graphic designer, and two, they can cost a lot of money. Three, sometimes students like to pull stuff off the web. They may not have rights to it and things like that. So with our online subscription, it's all included, of course. So you can quickly just pull stuff from the library. If you don't like something, you delete it. You don't have to worry about paying for it and then not using it. So there's a lot of advantages of having an online tool like this for design purposes. And I'll go into that a little bit later for you guys. Okay, so one question that I have for you guys: why do you think visual communication is an important skill for students to learn? If you can go ahead and enter your response in the chat box, that is great. It's always nice to know what your feelings and your thoughts are on that topic. It's becoming a pretty big topic right now with a lot of small businesses, entrepreneurs. People have a limited amount of attention spans. Their attention spans are getting smaller, unfortunately, and so this is something that people are starting to focus on a little bit more. So feel free to go ahead and put your responses in there. I've gone ahead and created just a few things that we at Easly believe when it comes to creating infographics. And like I said, in this day and age of information overload, we just believe it's important that we all know how to communicate information effectively to our audiences. And one of these ways is to communicate our information visually. And it can be either in a presentation like the one I'm doing right now, or it can be an image in a journal or a newspaper. I know you've seen infographics when you are checking out the news on a daily basis, or if you're looking at a professional trade journal. So these are all things that students should be aware of. Or maybe it's just communicating with your fellow employees at work. Maybe you need to show them a workflow or steps in a process. You can certainly put them in a document, line item by line item, but putting visuals to that process is something that is a little bit more engaging and maybe makes that learning process a little bit easier. And it is also a great skill for students to learn and understand that communicating visually is necessary in pretty much any industry they may choose to work in. So just think of the medical field, and think of business, think of engineering, any industry that they go into. It's going to be important for them to be able to communicate visually, whether they're doing a presentation or anything that they need to share in terms of information. Okay, so it looks like we've got quite a few responses here, so that's great. Thank you so much. Okay, this will be the #1 business skill of the next few years. So I really like that comment, because I think that this is where it really hits home, I think, for students as well as teachers, is when you realize, this is something that they can carry with them, again, once they go to college as well as into their careers. Okay, so I'll keep going, keep moving along here. I know that we might have some limited time. Okay, so before we get any further, let's just make sure we're on the same page with what an infographic is. And there are many different definitions of an infographic and what it actually is and what people actually think of an infographic when it's mentioned. But at Easley, we just use the simple definition that an infographic is a visual image used to represent information or data, and it can be quantitative or qualitative. So oftentimes, we might speak with an English teacher, and they might say, okay, well, I know that infographics use a lot of data and numbers, we may not use it as much, but it can certainly be an opportunity for them to work with students on sharing maybe any type of qualitative information, or just do a pro and con type scenario. So there's many different ways to be able to communicate all this information with some visuals. So this means that creating infographics is a great opportunity for educators to collaborate on projects or show students how different disciplines extend to all subject areas. So for example, a math teacher can collaborate with a social studies teacher to discuss how you can represent demographic data through charts and graphs. So that could be a great collaboration there. Or you can even pull in an art or graphic design teacher to discuss basic design principles like color theory. So those are just some examples. Really think about who you could collaborate with in terms of creating infographics with your students, and how you can maybe pull in some other educators at your school for something like that. Okay, so what's the problem when it comes to visual communication or creating infographics? Well, most people are not graphic designers, so it's hard to create your own infographics or informative visuals. So let's take a little quick poll here just in the chat box. Do you have graphic design experience? Yes or no? Let me know. Most people do not. Some people have limited experience. Some people have maybe taken some courses. So there's a lot of varying ranges. I know myself, graphic design is not my primary field of expertise, but I have learned a lot, of course, simply by doing trainings and creating presentations and creating all of my learning materials as a learning specialist for online tools. So I've learned a lot. I'm still growing. I'm learning a lot more, and that's just how it is with graphic design. And you'll continue to learn more because, you know, what styles and what people like, what they gravitate to, is always changing. So we'll always be learning. Okay, so it looks like some people have experience with Photoshop, Adobe, and but a good majority of you do not. So this type of a tool is a way to kind of get you, give you the basics and get you started with graphic design a little bit, and it's almost like a gateway, especially for students as well. Okay. I know I'm moving through a lot of this very, very fast. I do want to mention that I went ahead and posted my presentation deck already to my session description, as well as links to resources. So if you're taking notes or anything like that, just note that the presentation deck and everything has already been posted. And if there's anything in addition to what we're covering here today, I'll be happy to go back and post that as well. Okay. All right, so moving on, one of the first things I always like to talk about when it comes to infographics is that there are many different types of infographics. And I wanted to introduce you all to 7 of the most common types of infographics. And I think that that being familiar with these 7 types of infographics is a step towards understanding how a student can organize their information visually and have a layout for their information. I have a YouTube video here, and I am hoping that it will play for us here.
If you want, you can just share screen and play it on your own screen.
Okay.
Might be easier.
Okay, so it looks like you can't hear it. So I will just try to maybe talk through this. Looks like no one can hear it. This is on YouTube, so you'll be able to catch it at your own, on your own. I've also provided a link to it. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and showcase the visual article. Visual article makes a piece of writing more visual, can be used to summarize a blog post, summarize an article. So that's a great way to create an infographic. You can do a map infographic, and you can point out data trends, demographic information, compare culture, people. Those are all great ways of using a map infographic. Timeline. It's going to tell a story through chronological flow. It can show how something has changed over time. It can be used for history, science. It's a great way, an easy way to get started with students. The data visualization, it shows charts, graphs, and it can show data through design. It makes data-driven arguments easier to understand. So that's a little bit more about that. Okay, I know we missed a few of them, so I will try to just go ahead and review some of that. Now, this is also in a ebook that we provide, and so you'll be able to download that, and everything that's covered in the video is in that ebook as well, and probably in a little bit more detail. So that would be another way to access this information. But this is just good to know, and as an educator, you may choose the type of infographic that you may want your students to create, or you can have the student decide what type of infographic that would be helpful for them in terms of what's best for the type of information that they're looking to present. So if you're, again, working with younger students, something like a timeline infographic, you may just say, okay, everyone's going to create a timeline infographic and go that route, or you can have students choose. So that's hopefully gives you some good options there. Okay, I'm just checking some of the chat comments to see where we're at here. Okay, I guess that video didn't work as well as I had hoped, but no problem. You always have access to it on YouTube. Okay, so let's start with maybe discussing some key steps in terms of what you can do to introduce infographics with your students. And then hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to jump into the product as well. I'm hoping I'll probably move through it a little quickly, but again, everything is accessible. So okay, the very first thing is, you'll want to get your students inspired and discuss examples of infographics in the real world. Maybe hand select some infographics, go to some websites, credible websites that have infographics, and explain elements of infographic design. So you're going to want to talk about how the data is represented, how the graphs are represented, the style of the infographic, who is the audience for the infographic. That really drives the design of infographics. So those are important discussions to have. See what story is being told through that infographic. So that can be a part of the discussion in the classroom with your students. And also let students search and explore infographics on their own, based on their own interests. So you may select some infographics based on the subject area that you're teaching, but let them also explore infographics in their own interest area. So whether that's gaming or devices or fashion, sports, whatever that might be, and get them excited about learning about infographics. Now, I went ahead and I created just an example here. So you could go to a website like the USDA Food and Nutrition website, and I provide a link to that. They have a web page dedicated to all of their infographics that they've created based off of information that they've collected and some of their reports. And you can go through some of those infographics. You can discuss what you like, what you don't like about them. I just pulled one infographic as an example. You can discuss the icons, colors, how the graphs and charts are being represented. So that's just an example of what you can do with your students. The next step is to find a topic and, provide guidelines to your students in terms of a topic area, but let them ultimately choose the topic for their infographic. You can work with your school's library if you have one. I know not all schools have a library, but if you do, they're great resources. You can use library databases to guide students to credible sources on the web, or you can lead them to credible sources on the web to generate ideas. But library databases are great because they oftentimes have areas where you can explore different topics and narrow it down as well. So you also want to encourage your students to narrow their topic down as much as possible. So when you think of an infographic, there's not a lot of space, and you're not going to write a novel on your infographic. So it's important for your students to have a topic that is narrowed down. You also want to discuss the research process with them. So you, again, use your library databases to pull credible information or guide students to credible sources on the web to conduct their research. Have them gather all their statistics, all of their data, the numbers. Maybe if they're doing a timeline, maybe they need to collect important dates if that's what's applicable, and then encourage them to find some type of a story that they need to tell with the information and the data that's been gathered. You'll next want to create an outline. So every infographic needs these basic sections in order for it to tell a story. So if you follow these this outline, then it should tell a story for your audience. So make sure it's got a title, provide some type of an introduction to the information that you'll be sharing. The meat of the infographic is going to be all of the main points, as well as examples and facts and information. Maybe it's an argument. All of that's going to be the bulk of your infographic, and then you're going to want to summarize and reinforce your argument or provide some type of a call to action. Okay, so at this point, what I'd like to do is maybe quickly take just a few minutes to walk you through the live version of Easly. And I have some screen shots just in case we have any issues with going through a presentation or a demo of this. So bear with me as I enlarge my screen here on my end. Okay, and hopefully you can still see my Easly homepage. I've gone ahead and logged in already just to save me a little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and just refresh my screen, but hopefully you can see. This is where you go once you log into Easly. You can create a free account. Just note that you'll have some limited accessibility to the content, but you'll still have all of the design tools available to you, all the customization features for text and things like that. You can upload your own images very easily through the free account. But if you do want access to icons and graphics as well as the templates, then there would be that subscription portion of it. But there are a variety of templates you can use to get started. You can copy and paste icons from the templates into your own designs. Here are any of the visuals that you create. You can save them into your library and always have them accessible. As you can see, I use it for more than just infographics. I use them sometimes for presentation slides and social media images, a lot of things like that. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a blank template with you guys, but this is it. So once you click into our design feature, you'll see that you have access to all of these tools, and you can go ahead and start adding content to your templates. So I'm going to go ahead and just showcase all of the templates again. You can access them here. We do have some of these organized by subject area. So for example, if you wanted to focus on a medical type infographic or a timeline or a process, you can just go ahead and choose those here. Just going to go ahead and choose something like, I don't know, science as an example. You've got some there, or if you wanted to go into health, here's some medical and infographic templates, and you can just go ahead and drag and drop these into the design tool. So that's just an example here. You can, of course, always delete the content and start from scratch. Objects, there are a wealth of objects that are available in the library. Again, you can also upload your own images. So for example, earlier today I had uploaded my opening presentation slide, and I had gone ahead and I uploaded the Game Changers badge because I wanted to create an image on social media that I could go ahead and share in that way. So you can always upload your own images, but here's really where the power of Easly comes in. You have a variety of different icons and graphics that you can use, and so I'm going to go into something like, I'll just go into, I always like showing people icons. I'll delete that. And you'll see that there are a wealth of different icons that you can access, and all you need to do is just drag and drop them into your design tool. And there's a variety of different types of styles that are available as well. We try to keep these very diverse, so we have customers around the globe. And also, if you have any requests or don't see something that you need, we're always open to suggestions. We know that that's really important, and so if there's something that you're not seeing, feel free to email our support team, and I'll provide our contact information a little bit later so you can. I've got some I think I see a question about sizing for an infographic. So sizes for an infographic can really vary. We do have predetermined sizes like a letter size document, legal size document, a photo size document, and then you can also add a custom size. There really is no set size for an infographic. It can be like a long scrolling infographic. I have found, based off of what I have seen, a lot of educators like to kind of stick to a page-long infographic. So something like a letter-size document or an A4, depending on where you are globally, are what people like to use for students, because it's a size that can be printed off if they need to and posted around, but you can certainly customize that. Okay, so dragging and dropping with the images, what's nice about this as well is you can enlarge the images as much as you want to, and this is important because when people and students often upload images into something like, let's say, a presentation or any other type of a document, they might have a certain size for the image or the icon, and it'll start to pixelate in their image, but you can go ahead and drag and drop the image into your infographic, and you can enlarge it as much as you need to without it pixelating. So that is really a great feature of this. So if you kind of want one of these images to be the main image of your infographic, then it can take up the entire space of your canvas and it still looks great. And when you download your image, you'll still get a really good quality. Okay, and I'm just getting a message on my end about my microphone. I'm hoping you can still hear me. So if you can't hear me, let me know. If I can get just one person to let me know you can still hear me, then I'll just keep moving along and I'll ignore that message. Okay. Okay, great. So you can download with a free version, a low quality version, which is simply just a JPEG image, which is very common for attaching to emails or attaching to social media or using in a presentation if you need to upload a JPEG image. But I know sometimes people want more of a high quality image or maybe even a PDF version of an infographic. Those come with the paid versions, but with a free version, you can certainly go ahead and still download a low quality as needed. So those are the objects. Adding text is very simple. You can go ahead and add a title, header text, body text. You can also add like a bulleted list, numbers, and alpha list. All you need to do is just double click on the text and you can customize your text. Hit enter. Let me go ahead and fix that. There you go. And then once you go ahead and select your text, you'll have a menu to customize. So you can customize the color, you can bold, italicize, you can center your title, align it to the right or the left. You can position your text above images or move it to the back if you need to. You can even copy the text, so you can just keep copying it if you don't want to. If, let's say, you set your font and your color, then you can just keep copying it and then editing it as you need to. So we give you all of the basic customization features that you'd be looking for. You can also hyperlink text. So if you wanted to hyperlink a text and lead people out to more information, then you'll be able to do that as well. This is a really nice feature, especially if you have like the PDF function. If you are sharing a PDF, that would be a great way where people can actually click on the link on the PDF document and then launch out of your infographic. And then also if you choose to embed your infographic into a website. So those are some of the easy features. If you wanted to create some more advanced infographics with charting tools, you do have some charts that you can drag and drop onto your canvas as well. This is the full access, of course. If you have the free version, you have a couple of these charts available to you, but you could just go ahead and drag one of these, and all you need to do is double click on the
chart or graph, and you'll see that you'll be able to customize the colors of the segments, customize the labels, customize the values. You can add multiple rows, of course. If you have a lot more data, you can import that data. Of course, just be careful with the amount of data that you use, because the more data that you use in your charts and graphs, it just becomes a little bit harder for your audience to understand. So again, all learning opportunities with your students. And then you have some additional options, of course, in terms of customizing it by whether or not you want to add a legend or show the legend in your infographic. You can change the font, change the size. So those are all of the customization features for your chart. You can move it around. Once you add it to your infographic, again, you can enlarge it as much or as little as you need to and add it to your canvas. So there are some other really nice features with this, such as a media library. So you have stock photos if you want to add stock photos. To your infographic, and I'm going to go back into my presentation. Oh no, okay, it is crashing. Okay, I closed out of Easily. I think that maybe that might have been eating up my internet connection. So, okay, I think you can hear me, so I'm going to keep going. But I think I covered most of what I wanted to cover. So hopefully that gives you a good idea as to how Easily works and what you can do with it. I really wanted to showcase really the icons and the graphics, the text, as well as the charting tool. Charts are amazing. They're easy to use with students. A great way for you to start discussing data literacy. Data analysis is a hot topic right now, again, with the careers and businesses. So it's kind of just a gateway, again, for your students to start discussing some of that. Okay, so let's see here. Let me see what else I can cover. And I'm hoping that my connection is still pretty good.
Okay, I had these screenshots just in case I did lose it, but I think we were able to save ourselves here. These were the stock photos that I wanted to show you, of course. You can also add YouTube videos and embed those into your infographics if you're embedding your infographics onto a website, or if you're using a learning management system and you want to embed your infographic. And again, you can upload your own files. So those are all great tools. I showed you the graphs. We discussed that. So let's talk about design. You know, if you don't have any design experience, that's perfectly fine. You know, let your students go ahead and get creative. Let students play with the tool. You'll find that the learning curve is very, very easy. Maybe give them a classroom period to just kind of play around, or maybe that's part of their homework, is to just go home and play around with the tool so that when they come into school, they can start working on their project. You can use the templates if needed, but again, feel free to have them just start from scratch. You know, have your students resize their canvas if they need to. So if you want to give them a guideline, like just a page-long infographic, then make sure you use something like the letter-sized infographic or the A4. Another thing to keep in mind is to encourage them to limit their color palette. Sometimes you can get a little crazy with all the different colors that are available. And if it works, it works, but oftentimes less is more. So maybe have them choose a color palette of, maybe 2 to 3 colors, and keep it very simple. Same thing goes with font. I know that students get excited with some pretty cool fonts that are out there, but it's important for them to learn that if it's not legible, then people are not going to get the takeaway that they need to from the infographic. So, they may want to use a fun title for their title, or a fun font for their title, but really for the rest of their information, they're going to want to use a font that is legible. Keep imagery simple. Again, there's a lot of cool icons and graphics out there, but if they cannot get their message across with the images that they're choosing, then they've kind of lost the boat there. And white space is a good thing. Make sure that they're not crowding their infographic. You need the space so that a reader of the infographic can actually flow through the content very easily. Okay. All right, another important thing to keep in mind is that students are going to want to cite their sources. So they can cite their sources in a few different ways. You may want to just direct them to how they want to go ahead and cite their sources. They can list their source URLs throughout the infographic near the information and the data, or they can list their source URLs at the very bottom. That's usually what you'll find in most professional infographics, but as an educator, just to keep things easy for you, you may want to ask them to put their sources next to their data and information. If it's a big infographic or a long infographic, or if the student just has a lot of sources, then you may want to ask them to maybe create something like a Google Doc and have them list out their sources on the Google Doc. And then you can go ahead and put a link to the Google Doc with all the sources at the very bottom of the infographic. Okay, so students are also going to want to review it and get feedback. Proofread, it's important for them to check their spelling, check the digits, the commas, decimal points in their numbers, check the number of zeros they might add to their numbers, because if they put in the wrong digits and too many zeros, they're going to be miscommunicating in their infographic. Also ask students to exchange work and ask for feedback from their peers, and there's always room for improvement. So ask them to at least maybe do like one revision and make final edits or any needed changes. So one of the last steps I want to cover is the ability to present, publish, and share infographics. Now you can do this in a variety of different ways, and Easily does give you a few tools to allow you to do that, and I have some screenshots luckily so that I can show you. But you can ask students to use it as a visual or as a handout in a presentation. So maybe you can pull up their infographic and they can go through the information in their infographic, or maybe it's just part of a bigger presentation that they're doing. So maybe it's a handout that they do. You can embed the infographic into a blog or a classroom website, or have all of your students' infographics embedded into a classroom website to showcase their work, maybe to the rest of the school. You can also create a shareable link and ask students to share it with others, whether it's a friend or another teacher in another classroom, or if it's with their parents, whatever it might be, you can create a shareable link for your infographic. So all of those can be found. We discussed a little bit about the download options, but in terms of sharing, there is a feature that does allow you to share. All of these are in the free section of Easily. So for free, of course, you can share by email, get a shareable link. You can view your infographics in a browser window. And then we also provide you with an embed code if you want to go ahead and embed your infographics into a website or a learning management system as well. So quite a few different options. Just decide what is best for you and your students. Another thing I wanted to cover is that if you are managing a large group of students, that you can create groups in Easily. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's quite a few more steps and it may or may not be necessary in your case, but I do want to at least point it out that it is available. So as an educator or a student, you may want to create a group and invite your students in to use Easly. This is good because if your students don't have email addresses, then you can create usernames for them and they'll be able to access Easly in that way. So I know that has been an issue across some schools where they're not using emails. So that's a feature there. Or you can create a class code and you distribute the class code, and so all of your students can go ahead and just enter that class code and join your group. As an educator, this allows you to go ahead and see all of your classroom's work, see the progress, and you can hide and unhide these visuals. So if you don't want students to see all of the work, then you can hide them from everyone and you as the educator can just see them. But if you do want students to see what everyone else is doing in the classroom, then that's a great way to share it as well.
Okay.
And yes, I don't know if I'm hearing voices or questions. I'm not sure. I have just a few more slides here, and maybe I will see if I can address any other questions, but I know that these rooms are on a rotating basis, so I just want to respect the time for the next person coming in and want to make sure I cover everything. So I have provided some resources in the description of this session through the EdChange Global website, so you can access a lot of these links there. But I've also included them in the presentation, and the presentation has been uploaded. It is a PDF document, so all of these links are, you can link out to them. If you have any issues with the links, let me know, and I'll go ahead and update that if I need to. But we do have a help center that allows you to get tips on how to use Easly. We did go through a little bit of a makeover, so bear with us. It might look a little bit different than what I showed you today. We have to go through a process of updating it, but for the most part, these steps are very, very similar. We also have tips and tricks on our blog. We have a crash course on Udemy. It's free on just the basics of using Easly. So if you want to spend a little bit more time learning more about the tool, you can go ahead and do that. I added another course to that on how to create an infographic resume. So that would be maybe another interesting course to explore. I'm working on a third course to be determined on when it will be published, but stay tuned for that. We have an Infographics ebook, it's free. Infographics in the classroom, it's free. We just recently created an activity book with maybe 3 activities of short classroom activities. So if you don't want to go through an entire research process, if you just want to go through the activity of creating a simple basic infographic, like a bite-sized piece of using bite-sized pieces of information, then those activities are great as well. And we often get the question by educators as to whether or not we're COPPA compliant. I know this is more US based, but we are. So if you need to explore that policy, just explore privacy policy on our website. Okay, so if you want to connect with us, feel free to do so. We're on Twitter and Facebook mainly. We also have our Easly YouTube channel. You can connect with me at Dinah at Easly if you have any questions after today. You can also connect with our support team, support at Easly, and just let us know how we can help you. I am the trainer, so if you have like another conference that's going on and you want to invite me in, feel free to connect with me if I'm available. You know, I'm certainly happy to do a presentation. I do want to, I'm actually going to be going on maternity leave. I am about to go on leave in about maybe 2 weeks or so for a short period of time, and that's probably why I might sound out of breath because there's a very little space here, but I am going to be responsive, of course, through that time. So, you know, if there's something in the future when I will be back, you know, I'll be sure to put it on my calendar. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Thank you for some of those notes. So, you know, I think we have maybe about 10 minutes or maybe 5 minutes. I don't know how much time you guys need to get the new speaker in. So let me know. And again, I know we covered a lot of information so very quickly, but let me know what questions you have, or just feel free to connect with me afterwards.
Okay, Dinah, I just wanted to ask whether you subscribed or not as our blog member. Have you?
Onto your website?
Yeah, onto EdChange Global website.
Oh, you know what? I haven't had a chance to do that. So,
okay. Well, if you like, I mean, the idea is that it's the continuous platform to share ideas like this, and I love what you've just presented today. So, if you like, you just add yourself as a member. I approve you as the writer for the future. All you do is you go to live website, and you can post any of the messages or any of this stuff over there.
Okay, wonderful. And so, would I get notified if someone has a question through the blog about it, or?
Well, yeah, there's room for you. First of all, we can always share whatever you post there. We share via all the social networking, and I think I can take a look, but people can contact you through the messenger, because you get your own profile, so people can get to you through that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just would hate to miss a message. So yeah, absolutely. I'll join it, and I'll put my Easly email in there as a contact. So
yeah, whatever you put, you can even describe Easily or yourself as the trainer. Whatever you decide, it's all yours. The content that's below your member. I mean,
perfect.
on your member profile.
Exactly. And again, like I said, if you have any ed camps coming up, you know, we're happy to sponsor them through some trials as well. And if you have room for a guest speaker, you want me to come in, I'm happy to do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dinah, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I love this. What I was thinking is, you know, with the templates, how do you encourage the students to not just use the template and fill in the blank? I mean, I would like to see something that's kind of in between the two, because it's pretty daunting to try and create an infographic. I love how you had those graphs and all those icons. So what are some suggestions that you would have for that?
Sure. And it kind of depends on the ability of your students as well. If you're working with younger students, you may want to just hand select. I've had some teachers say, I hand selected like 3 templates, and these are the templates I want them to use. And, you know, they might be a little bit more specific in what they're looking to do. With your older students, I would definitely maybe encourage them to maybe just start from scratch and stay away from the templates, but use them as a guide. They are very helpful. Maybe not even the subject matter, because sometimes, you know, there's like a perfect template, but the subject matter just doesn't fit what the student is looking for. And this happens all the time. You know, it's more so to give them ideas as to how they can do it. So I almost like myself, I like to go in there and deconstruct the templates and see how the graphic designers actually created them, how they layered the information, how they used, you know, just simple shapes to, you know, layer colors in the background. So that's something that you can have your students do. But if you go ahead and use those 7 types of infographics, you know, have them choose that. That's kind of a good guide in terms of how to organize their information and content. That's a really good question. We get that from people who are not students, like, you know, some of our business owners who are using Easily for their infographic purposes as well. So we get that question a lot. Okay, are there any other questions? I think some people are starting to hop off maybe to the next session. Okay, yeah, well, thank you for attending. I really appreciate all your interest in the topic.
All right, Dinah, I have another, sorry, that's not my phone. I have another question that, since no one else is asking a question.
Sure.
You said how the infographics help the kids, you know, in their research and verifying sources, and that was on one of your first slides. So I just wondered, if you could expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we like to talk about this because there's a lot of infographics out there that are being created, and a lot of them are very biased and opinion-based, and that's perfectly fine. But I think it's really important for students to understand that infographics are being used to provide opinions, and you know, what someone might be stating in an infographic may not necessarily be the truth. It may just be an opinion. And then, of course, with a lot of talk with the fake news and all of that, you know, all of those things are kind of a hot topic right now. So it's a good opportunity to discuss that. Also discussing, you know, if you're looking at infographics, showing students the difference between like a credible infographic, you know, who the original source, who created it, why are they creating it. Those are all things that you might already do when it comes to like maybe an article or an opinion piece that you're reading in the classroom. So same thing goes for infographics. And it's also important for students to know that their information has to be credible when they're putting their own information into an infographic, because they may be misrepresenting information. So these are all important things for them to discuss. So I like to point that in there because, or put that in my presentations, because I think it's very important for students to learn that for whatever purpose they choose to do, use infographics in the future in their careers.
Okay, thank you. And I see that Kathy asked if you have pieces, if you have an infographic for that. So, and then I'm going to hop off to the next thing, but thank you.
Yeah, you know, we don't have anything specific for it, but I know that, you know, it's been a hot topic right now, but that's a great, great suggestion there. So I will go ahead and make a note, and maybe that's something that we can maybe add to one of our blog postings. Also, I'll get in touch with our editor on that. Okay, thank you. Yes, the digital citizen and fake news, that's definitely something we can look into, do some more research, and see if we can put a piece together for our blog. So thank you for that feedback. Yeah.
And are you in Seattle?
I am not in Seattle. I'm in actually Detroit, Michigan, or just outside of Detroit. Yeah, but our headquarters is in Seattle, and we're kind of all over.
Yeah, it's a digital world.
Yep, online. So we all kind of work remotely, and it's been great working with Easily and sharing this. I've actually been in the information space, working with librarians as well as educators, working for a publishing company. So that's my background. And so infographics has been just kind of a natural space for me here. So yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. This was awesome.
Okay, great. Great, thank you so much. Yep. Okay, so I think I might need to head out. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and I don't know, I think I need to close out for the next speaker. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm gonna close out, and stay in touch. Take care. Bye-bye.